So one of the hymns we'll sing today is "There's a river flowing through my soul," hence the river like stole. I use a resource published online by my colleague Kimberly DeBose. It's called Notes from the Far Fringe, and Kimberly reflects on all of the hymns in both our teal and our gray hymnals. And sometimes she gives a history about them. She wasn't able to find any history about this hymn, "There's a river flowing through my whole soul," my soul. She did, however, post a Sesame Street video from 1972 in her description. It features a very young Jesse Jackson doing a call and response with a cluster of young kids. As you may remember, Sesame Street takes place in a city primarily. The kids in the video are very diverse, and there's a realism that reflects the lives of the kids in cities everywhere. Jackson leads the kids through a litany of call and responses. So let's give it a go. He says, "I am," and they respond back, "I am." So every time I say something, you guys can respond back. I am.
I am.
Somebody.
Somebody.
I am.
I am.
Somebody.
Somebody.
I may be poor,
I may be poor,
but I am
but I am
somebody.
somebody.
I may make mistakes,
I may make mistakes,
but I am
but I am
somebody.
somebody.
He goes on and on with this. It's this empowering call and response, reminding kids that they are somebody. I am somebody. There's a river flowing through my soul telling me that I'm somebody. As I mulled over the topic of heritage with my spouse, Linda, it was clear that this was an idea that's a little hard to get a grasp on. Even Deb came today like, are we talking about heritage as, it's just a weird term, sort of. So I'm going to crack it open from one perspective, since there's many ways to approach the topic of heritage. What I'm most interested in today is what could be considered maybe cultural heritage that comes from the family you were raised in, the ethnic or cultural community you were part of, the geographic community that surrounds you now. It also comes from your current family and community of friends. Cultural heritage also comes from institutions you were or are a part of, such as this church or an alma mater or something like that. Think about, where do you find your people? What are the rivers that flow through your soul that tell you that you are somebody connected to other beings and places and time? When I reflect on my own life, I have a very loose ties to my ancestral family of origin. I don't know my great-grandparents. I never did. I had very little relationships with my actual grandparents. I remember my dad's mom, but not well, because we only saw her like once a year or so. My dad was a first-generation college student, and when he left Buffalo, New York, he left. My mom grew up in York, Pennsylvania, and her parents were dead before I came of age. And so I don't actually remember meeting her mother at all, even though she was alive when I was young. My parents were both raised Catholic, though that hardly constituted a religious thread in my life. Dad was climbing the corporate ladder. Mom was keeping the family glued together through multiple moves. Perhaps if we were a military family, there would have been a thread of an institution that held us through frequent moves, but instead we were just a family, moving to a new location, finding new schools, making friends, and settling into new neighborhoods. My brother's the family genealogist, and he travels back roads and he stops at historical societies and cemeteries, capturing stories of our ancestors and their histories and their resting places. But really, for me, it wasn't until I started to create my own story separate from my family of origin that I began to form identities and threads that continue to this day. The rivers that flow through my soul are those of the queer community, Unitarian Universalism, ministry, St. Paul, Lexham, which is the neighborhood where I live in. And after 32 years, I feel Minnesota is part of the river flowing through my soul, even though I'm a Minnesotan transplant. An example of the queer community is that we raised our kids in a lesbian and later gay and lesbian ECFE, early childhood family education groups. These people are still folks we hang out with today. We participated in, and I later led, an organization called Rainbow Families, which was an organization that served families with LGBT parents. We never missed a pride parade or festival. We marched in many of them. We participated in a lot of rallies and legislative sessions connected to our community. Our kids both identify as cis males who are heterosexual, yet they feel at home in the queer community. They are queer spawn, a term that was created by a once young educator, author, and activist, Abigail Garner. There's a river flowing through my soul that is deeply connected to the queer community. And Unitarian Universalism, not that it should be a surprise, is a strong river flowing in my life. We raised our kids in a UU church. They went through their coming of age and whole lives with cohorts and mentors. We traveled to Transylvania as a family with our church, and I went to Boston on a Boston pilgrimage with them as well. We passed our heritage on to our kids. When our youngest kid, Corbin, was in high school, he sought out the option to learn Hungarian, which is actually quite a difficult language because of the connection to Transylvania. They're comfortable at UU services and have witnessed my ordination and installation at MSUS. There's a river flowing through my soul that is deeply connected to Unitarian Universalism. So I found a tool as I was kind of thinking about how can we bring this alive through an organization called Facing History. My brother worked with them for a period of time. It's called an identity chart, and the kids in high school would use it to help talk about the rivers flowing through their souls. So I created a slide. Katie is going to hopefully share it. That will show you what this would look like if this is something you choose to do. So you'll see I have my name in the middle, I have Unitarian Universalism, I have ministry, I have the queer community, Minnesota, and St. Paul. I hope you can see under Minnesota, I put the state fair. Very important. There you go. So today we'll have a chance to share stories about rivers that are flowing through our souls. What are kind of the parts of you that you might call out if you were doing the call and response that you are somebody? And I will call them identities because it just feels easier to grasp. But if you like rivers or heritage, if those words work for you, you can use them as well. And now Marie's going to come show another way that we might reflect. Katie, you can just go back to the regular.
And as Reverend Laura said, I am going to do another way of reflecting on heritage, which is to consider the memories that inform our lives. In a book called I Remember, Poems and Pictures of Heritage, there's an essay here called Here's What I Remember by Kwame Alexander. Here's what I remember. 100-degree Sundays riding backseat in Dad's caramel-colored Dodge Dart. After church, sweat clinging like static, our heads out the window trying to catch a breeze. On the way to High's ice cream store, paradise. I remember meatloaf, the way the butter in Granny's rolls disappeared like snow on fingertips. The way I disappeared when Granny's switch appeared. The stuff I found in Granddaddy's attic, the money, the letters to Granny, the World War II medals, summertime reunions with cousins unseen since last summer, barbecue for miles, aunts laughing at uncles singing a lot and dancing even more, dominoes and a bid whist, good times. The time we sat, still like in fear, for 2 hours in an Orlando hotel because my father couldn't find his hat. And Space Mountain summoning us like a siren. The names I called my sisters, bad. The looks they gave me, worse. Finding joy in traveling. Never minding moving. New York, North Carolina, Virginia, all in the same year. Counting cars, logging license plates, we did that. Traveling games, winning the spelling bee. I literally did that in 4th grade. My father smiling, relatives I never met and the ones I wish I hadn't, showing up for dinner. Family meetings, which were more like lectures with no Q&A. Trials with no jury, and 7 days during Kwanzaa in December. My mother cooking, my father trying. Who ever heard of macaroni and cheese and mustard? Grocery store checkout line quizzes. If I have a coupon for 50 cents off, and today is double coupon day, and orange juice is on sale, 2 for $3, then what is the cost, including tax? With no reward for correct, and plenty of consequences for incorrect. Loved ones who passed: Nana, Uncle Richard, Granddaddy, Ovi, Granny, Aunt Dorothy, Granddaddy again. Funerals, meeting new folks and missing old ones. Children playing, loving, smiling, planning, crying, dreaming, laughing, and leaping forever forward into their futures. I remember regularly sitting in the living room, fingering through the countless memorabilia that my mother kept. Scrapbooks, yearbooks, old report cards, portraits, love letters, wedding photos. I remember looking for me and always being proud of what I found.
I am somebody. You are somebody. We are fabulous.